Imagine a spiritual awakening quietly unfolding, unnoticed by most of the world, not in packed stadiums or televised services, but gently, subtly, hidden within a land famous for its tight control and surveillance. While millions across the globe focus on China's impressive economy, advanced technology, and rising political power, something remarkable and unexpected is quietly happening beneath the surface. A growing number of ordinary Chinese citizens are discovering and embracing the Catholic faith. This transformation isn't loud or obvious. Instead, it's spreading quietly through private conversations, secret gatherings, and heartfelt prayers whispered behind closed doors. Teachers, moved by timeless hymns, find themselves drawn closer to Christ. Farmers quietly teach their children prayers passed down by generations. Students choose faith, often risking their futures in a society suspicious of religious devotion. Darul Ireland, a university school of theology research, estimates that the Christian community in China has grown from 1 million to 100 million in only 40 years. It's a story of ordinary lives changed in extraordinary ways, about discovering hope where it's least expected, and about faith flourishing precisely because it's being tested. To truly grasp the significance of this quiet spiritual revival, we need to move beyond headlines and statistics, deep into the lives and hearts of the individuals who have chosen Catholicism, even when it demands sacrifice. This is the story of a faith that refuses to fade away, quietly thriving despite tremendous challenges. In a nation once shaped profoundly by ancient traditions like Confucianism, and now closely watched by the eyes of a powerful government, something unexpected and remarkable is unfolding. Instead of fading beneath these pressures, the Catholic faith is quietly blossoming, protected and nurtured by individuals who treasure it deeply, like guardians shielding a fragile flame against harsh winds. For decades, authorities have sought to silence it. Yet, rather than weakening, Catholicism has strengthened, spreading slowly but steadily across China. Students, hungry for purpose beyond material success, find solace in hidden chapels. Small communities in remote villages keep traditions alive through whispered prayers. And underground churches remain quietly loyal to Rome, despite significant personal risk. To truly grasp why the Catholic faith continues to spread quietly but powerfully across China today, we must first explore how Christianity found its roots here long ago. Its arrival wasn't recent, it began centuries ago, reaching Chinese shores through determined missionaries as early as the 13th century. The roots of this faith took hold in a significant way during the late 1500s, thanks largely to an extraordinary missionary named Matteo Ricci. Ricci, a Jesuit priest, adopted a remarkably different method compared to earlier missions. Rather than imposing foreign ways, he respectfully immersed himself in China's rich traditions. He mastered Mandarin fluently, engaged deeply with Confucian thought, and developed genuine friendships with scholars, intellectuals, and even members of the imperial administration. Ricci's ambition wasn't to erase or replace China's ancient wisdom, but rather to bridge two worlds, bringing the Christian message into harmony with local culture. His careful and respectful approach won him remarkable favor, granting him a rare and privileged presence in the Ming imperial court, laying a foundation of dialogue and mutual respect between East and West. Yet, this hopeful start soon faced serious challenges. As European powers expanded their colonial reach into Asia, Chinese leaders began viewing Christianity not as a peaceful spiritual message, but rather as a foreign intrusion tied to colonial ambitions. This distrust deepened dramatically in the wake of the Opium Wars, as unequal treaties imposed on China reinforced suspicions of Christianity as an instrument of foreign domination. These suspicions came to a dramatic head in 1949, when communist leaders came to power. Determined to eradicate any potential threat to state control, the new regime moved decisively against religious institutions. For Chinese Catholics, it marked the beginning of a painful and dramatic split, the consequences of which are still felt to this day. Rather than recognizing the Vatican's authority, the communist government created its own organization, known as the Chinese Catholic Patriotic Association. This new body was carefully designed to control Catholic worship by disconnecting it entirely from the Pope and the worldwide Church. But for thousands of devoted Catholics, priests, religious sisters, and ordinary believers alike, this state-controlled version was impossible to accept. They chose instead to worship in secret, hidden from public view. Many faced tremendous risks for this quiet rebellion, enduring imprisonment, constant monitoring, forced relocations, or even worse. Even today, this split between the officially sanctioned church and the underground communities remains one of the deepest wounds within Chinese Catholicism. In 2018, an unprecedented agreement between the Vatican and China aimed at jointly appointing bishops brought fresh hope for reconciliation. Some saw this compromise as a meaningful step toward unity and mutual understanding. Others worried it could undermine the Church's independence and spiritual authenticity. The discussion about the wisdom of this move continues, but one undeniable truth emerges clearly. Catholicism in China is alive, resilient, and thriving in ways that surprise even its own adherents. Across cities and villages alike, increasing numbers of Chinese citizens find themselves drawn to Catholic teachings about human dignity, authentic peace, and meaningful existence truths they feel their society's dominant ideologies simply cannot provide. Many new believers describe discovering in Catholicism an honesty, purity, and spiritual calmness that profoundly contrasts with the relentless pressures around them. In a culture fixated on wealth, success, and external appearances, Catholic faith offers something refreshingly different and deeply appealing. Perhaps most intriguing is the surge of younger Chinese adults, intellectuals, and university students becoming curious and even passionate about Catholic teachings. In a fiercely competitive world where personal worth often depends solely on achievement, many young people increasingly question their lives. Who am I apart from my career? What purpose do I serve beyond financial success? Why, despite everything I have, do I feel spiritually unfulfilled? Catholicism reaches directly into those profound uncertainties, offering not just beliefs or doctrines, but genuine clarity, meaning, and hope. Catholicism offers something unique, a meaningful lens through which individuals can view life, forgiveness, and the inherent dignity of every person. Its rich spiritual traditions, from the depth of its theology to the solemn beauty of its rituals, provide a grounding force amid a world that often feels confusing and disconnected. The reverent rhythms of Catholic liturgy, its moments of reflective silence, gentle gestures, and timeless chants, deliver peace to hearts worn out by the relentless pace of modern life. For those tired of chasing endless desires and consumer trends, Catholicism represents more than just a set of beliefs. It becomes a sanctuary, a quiet space for weary souls. Even with strict limitations placed on religious expression, Catholic schools and educational initiatives, though relatively rare, stand out distinctly for their discipline, moral teaching, and academic rigor, attracting students regardless of background. Many who approach Catholic institutions out of curiosity or for educational benefit end up experiencing profound personal transformations. Intellectuals, professors, writers, scientists, and artists discover within Catholicism a rich intellectual heritage extending from early theologians like Augustine, through thinkers like Thomas Aquinas, to contemporary figures such as John Paul II. This intellectual tradition uniquely blends faith and reason, driven not by societal expectations or rewards, but by a sincere longing for something authentic and true. The gospel is reaching hearts in China, not through elaborate cathedrals or grand public events, but through personal conviction in quiet spaces. Embracing Catholicism here often carries significant personal cost. Strained relationships, social isolation, government scrutiny, and even genuine danger. Yet, rather than pushing believers away, these challenges only deepen their devotion. Each year, hidden Easter vigils are held, often in secret locations illuminated only by candlelight. New converts, many of them adults, step forward in these hidden ceremonies. These baptisms aren't mere symbolic acts, they're courageous declarations of spiritual commitment made despite fear and uncertainty. Remarkably, many of these new believers quickly become active contributors within their communities. Simply attending Mass is never enough. Instead, they form small prayer groups, initiate quiet Bible studies, and offer guidance to others who are new to the faith. Without official approval or public acknowledgement, they become true evangelizers, not loudly proclaiming their message, but softly demonstrating it through compassion, empathy, and presence. Their testimony is direct and powerful. Lives visibly transformed through acts of mercy and quiet grace. In bustling cities and peaceful rural villages alike, Catholicism has woven itself deeply into daily life. For many, the roots of faith extend back generations, sustained by memories of missionary encounters from over a century ago. While formal churches may be rare, the Catholic spirit thrives, expressed in whispered prayers shared among elderly women at kitchen tables or gentle recitations of the Rosary in humble homes. Often deprived of regular contact with priests or formal religious materials, these communities lean on their collective memory, oral tradition, and deeply personal connections to the divine. Masses happen quietly behind closed doors, rotating among different houses to remain unnoticed. Prayer meetings align naturally with agricultural calendars, taking place before planting seasons or following harvests, connecting faith intimately to the land itself. This isn't merely survival. It's a powerful display of spiritual determination. These communities aren't just enduring, they are cultivating a form of Catholicism, uniquely adapted to their circumstances, resilient and deeply anchored in local culture. Their faith is authentic, defined by quiet sacrifices rather than public displays. Equally remarkable is Catholicism's quiet growth among China's ethnic minorities, including communities like the Miao, Yi, and Mongol peoples. Often marginalized in official narratives, these groups have discovered something deeply meaningful within the Catholic faith. A message affirming dignity, mercy, and universal human connection, values powerful enough to transcend cultural and historical divides. Quietly and steadily, through the persistent efforts of devoted believers and careful translations into local dialects, the Catholic faith has gently become part of the very fabric of China's diverse ethnic communities. Rather than replacing local identities, this gentle evangelization enriches and enhances them, fusing faith harmoniously with regional traditions, songs, and stories passed down through generations. In remote towns and rural villages, far removed from China's urban centers, faith often passes silently from person to person, household to household, not because it's easy or convenient, but precisely because it resonates deeply with their lived experience and spiritual truth. Even in an environment characterized by intense surveillance, restrictions on religious activities, and careful monitoring of gatherings, China's Catholics have discovered new ways to preserve and share their beliefs. Within busy cities, small, informal prayer groups gather discreetly in homes, cafes, or through private online groups, offering mutual support, Bible studies, and quiet prayer. These modest meetings form critical bonds, preserving a sense of spiritual unity with Catholics worldwide. In the countryside, faith flourishes differently, protected by deep bonds among neighbors and extended families. Whole communities quietly assemble for private masses late at night or move worship from house to house, staying beneath the radar of watchful authorities. Smartphones quietly broadcast masses from other countries, turning living rooms into sacred spaces, sanctuaries built not from bricks and stained glass, but from whispered prayers, simple candles, and steadfast devotion. Yet faith here isn't limited to worship alone. Quiet acts of generosity, kindness, and community care naturally flow from their belief into everyday life. Business people weave principles of justice and compassion discreetly into their professional dealings, ensuring employees are treated fairly, suppliers respected, and communities supported, all without fanfare or public acclaim. Charitable outreach programs quietly blossom, assisting the vulnerable and supporting families facing hardship, all subtle expressions of genuine discipleship, rather than open defiance. In tiny villages under vast star-filled skies, Catholic communities gather in secrecy for celebrations of faith, sometimes in a humble home kitchen, sometimes under the open air, beneath trees illuminated only by candlelight. Here, ordinary items are transformed through faith. A simple wooden table serves as an altar. An everyday candle becomes a sacred flame. Whispered hymns rise softly, blending reverence and courage. These gatherings aren't simply acts of worship, but acts of quiet strength, quiet courage, quietly asserting their spiritual freedom despite the risks involved. Across China's diverse landscapes, a quiet revolution unfolds within hearts. Lay movements operate discreetly, spreading acts of mercy, gently evangelizing through kindness rather than confrontation. They mentor the youth, assist elders, and offer compassionate guidance to those in need, embodying the gospel's teachings through everyday living rather than vocal proclamations. One striking example of this quiet perseverance is the Marian shrine dedicated to Our Lady of Sheshan, quietly standing on a hillside near Shanghai. Although closely watched by authorities, pilgrims continue to climb this sacred mountain year after year, often silently and with humble determination. Their prayers ascend beyond political control petitions for healing, hope, and the quiet longing for religious freedom. Over time, Sheshan has grown into more than just a pilgrimage site. It symbolizes the resilience and hidden strength of Chinese Catholicism, a place where quiet devotion endures in spite of immense pressure. At the same time, beyond China's borders, a new chapter is quietly unfolding. While global media often fixate on China's politics and economic ambitions, they largely overlook a significant spiritual shift. Chinese Catholics are now emerging onto the international stage, not simply as observers, but as active and contributing members of the worldwide Catholic community. Although precise numbers remain elusive because many believers practice their faith discreetly, it's clear that Catholicism in China isn't just growing in size. It's deepening in conviction, understanding, and global connectedness. Across China, something deeply meaningful is quietly unfolding, a subtle yet powerful rise in vocations to the priesthood and religious life. Young men and women, inspired by the quiet faithfulness they've witnessed from parents, mentors, and local heroes, are responding courageously to their spiritual calling. Their preparation rarely occurs in public seminaries. Instead, formation takes place discreetly in modest home libraries, in quiet gatherings of trusted friends, and through carefully maintained connections with Catholic mentors overseas. The faith emerging from these hidden conditions is anything but superficial. It's strong, authentic, and tested through struggle, marked by discipline and deep sincerity. Increasingly, these dedicated young Catholics are stepping beyond the borders of China to pursue theological studies abroad in Rome, the Philippines, the United States, and Latin America. They're attending global events such as World Youth Day, joining international religious communities, and taking part in missionary activities on multiple continents. They arrive without fanfare or ambition for personal acclaim, but with humility, gentle determination, and a clear sense of purpose. Their presence on the global stage is reshaping perceptions about Catholicism in China, not as passive converts awaiting instruction, but as active missionaries bringing their own powerful witness. And with extraordinary resilience, This quiet revolution continues. It is the humble yet unstoppable rise of a church discovering and becoming its truest self. Thank you for watching, and kindly consider subscribing to Messenger of God for more faith-inspired videos on your feed. Amen.